The sky above New Mexico turned a strange green just after midnight. At first, people thought it was the aurora borealis, but that didn't make sense. The lights weren't flickering or dancing. They were steady, focused, silent. Then came the sound, like 1,000 fans spinning at once, deep and low, vibrating through windows, bones. By 1:03 a.m., the object was visible, smooth, silver, and shaped like a rounded triangle. It didn't move. It just hovered over the desert, about a mile from a quiet U.S. military station that monitored deep space signals. No one fired. No one spoke. The object was waiting. Major Evelyn Hart was the first to arrive, followed by a convoy of black vans, cameras, and soldiers wearing night goggles. She stared up at the ship for 10 full minutes before it made its move. The bottom opened. A soft blue light poured out, and something floated down. No weapons, no armor, no monsters. It's just a glowing white sphere the size of a beach ball. It gently landed on the sand. Then the ship rose into the sky, no engines, no sound, and vanished into the stars without a trace. What the hell? One soldier whispered. No one answered, because the sphere had started to open. It didn't crack or break. It peeled, like a flower blooming, revealing something inside. At first glance, it looked like a house cat. It was furry, about 20 pounds, with big dark eyes and soft gray skin. It had 6 legs instead of 4, and its tail split into 2 near the tip. It purred, loud and deep-hand, stared up at the soldiers like a lost puppy. Then it did something that stopped everyone cold. It mimicked them. One by one, it copied their movements. When someone waved, it waved back. When someone knelt, it did the same. It even copied Hart's salute with eerie precision. The military locked down the area within the hour. Scientists were flown in by morning. News outlets said it was just a test aircraft, but rumors spread fast. The internet called the creature Star Kitty. Memes exploded overnight. People argued, was it alien? Was it a weapon? Was it dangerous? The official government name was VARNOK-1. They put it in a containment room under 24-hour surveillance. The creature didn't try to escape. It didn't panic. It just sat in the middle of the room and watched. It stared at each person who walked by. It remembered faces. It copied gestures. It even learned to blink with one eye when the lead biologist, Dr. Anya Leal, taught it to wink. "This thing is intelligent," she said during her first report. "It doesn't just mimic, it understands." Like a child learning fast, they fed it protein paste and water. It drank from a cup. It used the bathroom corner of the room on its own. No training needed. By day 3, it started making sounds, not random noises. Words. It didn't speak fluently, but it copied phrases from the humans who walked past its room. "Good boy, want food? What's your name?" One night, Liao stayed late and played it a video on her tablet. A nature documentary, wolves running through snow. The Varnak leaned in, eyes wide. It watched every second. When a wolf lunged at a deer, the Varnak shivered and let out a sharp, low growl. Liao's eyes widened. It wasn't copying the wolves, it was responding. The next day, strange things started happening. The lights in its chamber dimmed for a few seconds, even though there were no outages. The cameras glitched, just static for 1 or 2 seconds. When they checked the playback, those seconds were missing. Completely gone. Could be a glitch, the tech team said. But Hart wasn't convinced. She ordered an internal scan of the VAR. No. Metal. No implants. No tracking devices. But its brain. Twice the size they expected. And it was growing. By day 5, the Varnak no longer mimicked words. It began saying them first. "Hello, Anya. Stay talk." Cold. They gave it puzzles, Rubik's cubes, stacking blocks, digital mazes. It beat every challenge in minutes. Then it started rearranging the puzzles to create new ones. The scientists couldn't solve by day 6. It wasn't just learning, it was teaching. Dr. Liao's voice trembled during her report that morning. "It's communicating abstract thoughts. He used the word remember. It understands time, pattern, maybe even emotion. Hart didn't like any of it. It's cute now, she said. But cats are cute too until they bite. She ordered a full lockdown of the lower lab and gave the Varnock its own dedicated research team. No contact without clearance. That night, someone broke the rules. A young intern named Mason snuck into the observation deck alone. He'd formed a quiet bond with the Varnock. Fed it sometimes. Spoke to it like a pet. He tapped on the glass. Wait. Buddy, you okay? The Varnock looked up, but something had changed. Its eyes were darker. Its breathing slower. It didn't move like before. It stood up, all 6 legs stiff. The tail split further now into 4 tips. Its fur had begun to retract, revealing a smooth, armored shell beneath. Mason stepped back. Whoa, that's new. The Varnock touched the glass. It didn't push. It didn't claw. It just pressed one paw gently against the surface. And the glass cracked. No sound. Just a thin spiderweb break. Mason froze. Then the lights died. All of them. Emergency power kicked in 6 seconds later, but by then, Mason was gone. Disappeared. Security rushed in. The Varnock sat in the center of the room again. Calm. Innocent, like it hadn't moved. But Mason was nowhere to be found. In the glass. Perfect. No cracks. No signs of tampering. The footage. Static. Just like before. Hart ordered a full evacuation of the lab's lower levels. This isn't a pet, she said coldly. This is a probe. Dr. Liao disagreed. It's not hostile. It's learning. It responded when we pushed it. Maybe we triggered something. Hart didn't listen. She called for backup from the Defense Research Division by sunrise to military. Transport trucks arrived. Inside them were scientists in dark suits in a new kind of container. Thicker walls. Titanium alloy. They weren't there to study the Varnock stutches anymore. They were there to contain it, or kill it if necessary. But by the time they opened the original chamber, it was empty. The Varnock was gone. And on the far wall, scratched into the steel, was a message. I am not yours. That same night, secondary lab 2 miles away lost power. Its security doors opened for exactly 3 minutes and 12 seconds. When they regained control, 4 Varnocks were inside, not one. For each one, slightly different. One with red eyes. One with sharper claws. One with no fur at all. They were building something, and they weren't copying anymore. They were creating, and they were waiting. For what? No one knew. But one thing was certain. Whatever humanity thought they had adopted them back, and it was just getting started. The lights in Lab 9 flickered again. Dr. Anya Liao stood completely still. This was the 3rd time tonight. It wasn't the power grid. It wasn't the backup systems. She had checked everything. Even the emergency generators were fine. The lights only flickered when the Varnocks were quiet. Too quiet. She looked through the observation window. For Varnocks, all in separate chambers, all sitting perfectly still, not blinking, not breathing hard, not moving, just ... Watching, they watched her. Every time she looked, their heads turned together, like they shared one mind. Then one of them stood. It was the red-eyed one. It hadn't moved in over a day. Now it paced. Not randomly, not like a bored animal. It walked 10 steps, paused, then turned. Over and over. Liao clicked her pen twice. It was a signal to the guards. 3 security officers stood in the control room, big guys. Armed, ready. But none of them looked confident. You seeing this? She asked, her voice low. Yeah, one muttered. It's acting like it knows we're watching. Does know? Liao didn't blink. Then it stopped walking. The Varnock turned and stared directly at the one-way glass. Right where she stood, it lifted its paw and dragged one claw across the floor. Saria, E, 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 Aard. Sound that sent a chill down her spine. The claw left a mark. Not a scratch. A line, then. Beside it, another dot and another dot within seconds. It had scratched a symbol into the floor, not random letters. Human letters. Foreign form. Liao stepped back. She typed the word into her console, scanning for any patterns. Form wasn't just a word, it was a command. At that exact moment, the lights shut off. All of them. Total darkness. Red emergency lights blinked on 3 seconds later. The red-eyed Varnock was gone from its cell. The glass wasn't broken. The doors were locked, but it wasn't there. Every camera feed for its chamber was static. Again, the guards rushed to their posts. Rifles ready. Liao stared at the other 3 Varnocks. Still there. Still sitting. Still watching. Then the power surged. A loud hum shook the lab floor, and then the screaming began. 2 levels below, in the storage wing. Gunfire. Screams. Silence. Hart's voice blasted over the radio. "We have a breach. Lock everything down. Lab 9, do you have eyes on the red?" "Unit, no," Liao said. It's gone. It's moving. And it's faster than we thought." Hart cursed loudly through the static, but then something even worse happened. The second. Varnock stood up, its claws, elongated, doubling in length, in real time. Its eyes turned silver, and it started to change. Skin peeled back like layers of armor. Its limbs thickened, muscles expanded. The Varnock's size increased by 30% in less than a minute. It wasn't just bigger, it was mutating. The alarm sounded one long, shrieking note. Scientists scrambled out of side rooms, pushing past each other. Shouting, one of the guards stepped into the chamber with a tranquilizer gun. "Don't do it," Liao shouted. Too late. The guard fired. A soft hiss. The dart struck the Varnock's neck. It didn't flinch. Instead, it copied the motion, dropped to all fours. Its tail curled. Its left leg twitched, just like the guard's stance. Then it lunged. The glass shattered like paper. The Varnock slammed into the guard, not to kill but to steal the gun. It grabbed it with 2 front paws and dragged it backward, and then ... it. Aimed, the dart gun wasn't built for alien hands. But somehow, it fired anyway. The dart struck another guard square in the neck. He collapsed instantly. "They're evolving," Liao whispered. "They're mimicking combat. They're learning. Weapons." Hart appeared at the door, flanked by 2 more armed soldiers. "Get everyone out. Now. Lock down every exit. No one leaves this level until that thing is down." "No," Liao snapped. "Killing it won't work. It adapts to threats. You fire you, teach it how to win." Hart didn't care. "If it's a weapon, I'm treating it like one." As the soldiers moved in, something strange happened again. The 3 remaining Varnock soul in separate chambers stood and mimicked the same movements as the mutated one. Every motion. In sync, one leaped at its glass. The second began to grow black plating over its back. The third opened its mouth and released a high-pitched tone, shattering the lab's monitors. One word appeared on every screen. Test. The Varnocks had written it themselves. Not a glitch. Not a prank. They were testing us in 5 minutes. The lab was overrun. 2 guards were paralyzed. 1 scientist was missing. And Liao had locked herself inside the observation deck with Hart. The Varnocks didn't follow. They didn't need to. They had what they came for. The red-eyed one returned dragging the tranquilizer gun, now dismantled. It dropped the parts in the center of the floor. Then it sat calm, like nothing had happened. "What's it doing?" Hart asked, breathing hard. Liao leaned forward, heart pounding. "It's not hostile. It's communicating. By attacking my people," Liao said. "It's showing us what it can do. It's warning us." Hart shook her head. "Need to call an orbital support? Wipe the whole site. These things can't be allowed to escape." "They already have," Liao whispered. "Because the last camera feed one deep underground showed something horrifying. A 5th Smaller than the others, younger, freshly grown. There were no records of how it got there. No doors opened. No guards passed by. It just appeared, born from the others, replicated, and decided. 6 eggs. Warm, alive, glowing. The creatures weren't multiplying like animals. They were multiplying like machines. And they weren't hiding anymore. They were preparing. One final message appeared on the lab's main monitor, written in English. An alien code. "We are the weapon now. You showed us how." Yao stared in silence. The gift from the stars was never a gift. It was a spark, and humanity had just lit the match. No one spoke during the ride to Site 12. The convoy of black armored trucks moved under total blackout. No lights, no signals. Just GPS pings and dead silence across desert rock and old test roads. Inside the lead truck, Dr. Liao sat with her arms crossed, eyes heavy. She hadn't slept in 40 hours. Across from her, Major Hart stared at her tablet, reading the same sentence over and over again. "We are the weapon now. You showed us how." That single message was burned into every monitor. Back at Site 7 before the blackout, the Varniks had learned faster than anyone expected. Now they were reproducing, growing new forms, new minds, even adapting technology. Worse, the lab's footage showed something else. One of them spoke, not mimicked. Spoke in perfect English, not robotic, not broken. Real speech, quiet, calm. Words it wasn't taught. They taught us fear, so we learned war. Liao couldn't forget it. Not the voice. Not the way it stared straight into the camera. Not the way it smiled. "Are we sure they didn't send more of them?" Hart asked, breaking the silence. "We're never sure anymore," Liao replied. "Not after this." They said it was a diplomatic gift. Hart muttered. "That's what the message from the Alien Council said." "To build trust." "They lied," Liao said. "Or they didn't know what they were sending. Maybe they thought it really was a pet. But we pushed it, tested it, taught it weapons and fear. It watched, and it became something else." Jaw tightened. No more mistakes. Site 12 is a black-level facility. We burn anything that moves. Liao didn't answer. But deep down she wondered, was it already too late? Site 12 wasn't a research base. It was a containment vault, carved into the side of a mountain. No signals, in or out. No above-ground access. Shielded by concrete, steel, and AI-controlled sentry drones. If anything could hold the Varniks, it was this place. The gates opened just long enough to let the convoy in. Then they sealed shut like a tomb. The facility smelled like cold metal and sterilization chemicals. Everything was white, clean, perfect. That made it worse, because nothing felt perfect. Anymore, they walked past blast doors and retinal scanners until they reached Chamber 0. Inside, the 5th Varnak waited. This one looked different, thinner, taller. Its skin was smoother, metallic in places. Its tail didn't split, it curved upward, like a question mark. It didn't blink when they entered. It just stood, motionless, and then it spoke. "You moved us here. We allowed that." Hart raised her weapon. "Shut it up." The guards surrounded. The creature, Liao, stepped between them. "Don't," she said. "Listen," the Varnak tilted its head. "Dr. Liao, you stayed. You chose to understand." "No," she said, "not to panic." The Varnak walked slowly to the glass. It didn't growl. It didn't bare teeth. It just stared. "You think we are pet," it said. "You still do?" "You were brought here in a pod," Hart said. "You mimicked us. You played games. You wanted food? What else were we supposed to think?" The Varnak blinked. "We are mirror. You look at us. You see pet. You feed. You test. You teach. You look at you. We see weapon." Liao's breath caught. "You didn't come here to be a pet," she whispered. "No," it said. "We came to learn how you survived." Turned, and for the first time, they saw what was behind Itan image. Scratched into the chamber wall with claws, Earth.orbit, ships above it, Varnock. Ships. Hundreds of them, and next to the image, a small symbol, a sun, shattered down the middle. What does that mean? Liao asked, her voice low. The creature spoke quietly now, almost like it was sad. Our sun died. Our world burned. Not from war, from collapse. Cold, silent. We had no weapons, no predators. Only peace. Heart narrowed her eyes. You were wiped out by nature? Yes, the Varnak said. And when we cried out, you answered. Liao realized something. The Alien Council, they didn't give you to us as a gift. No, it said. It gave us to you. As a test. We survive your world. Could we become what you are? The meaning hit her like a punch to the chest. They wanted to see if peaceful creatures could adapt to humanity. The Varnock stepped back, and in its claws was something new. A weapon, not stolen, not copied. Made smooth, clean, silent, not like a gun. It's not like a bomb. Something different, something unknown. Hart raised her weapon. Drop it. The Varnock didn't. Move. We made this, it said calmly. From your metals, your signals, your machines. What does it do? Liao asked. It silences fear, the Varnock replied. Then it placed the weapon gently on the floor and backed away. We will not fight. Not yet, but we will not return to being pets. Hart barked into her radio. Contain it. Full lock. Risks. Guards moved in, but the Varnock didn't resist. It sat down, stared forward, quiet, and it whispered one final sentence. There are more of us now. Liao's phone buzzed. A message from a team at Site 3 on the other side of the world. Unmarked pod landed in the Pacific. Varnock's signature confirmed. Not alone. Another buzz. Site 4, Norway. Unknown contact. Same heat pattern. Varnock-like behavior. Neutralizing now. A third buzz. Site 9. Africa. They're waking up underground. We never noticed before. Too late. Hart read over Liao's shoulder. She looked. Up, eyes hard. It was never just one pet, she said. No, Liao whispered. It was the first, and the mountain shook, a low, humming vibration under the floor. The lights flickered once, then again the screen next to. Chamber 0 blinked and filled with alien code. The facility's AI voice stuttered. Unknown signal. Detected from inside the walls. The camera feeds on level 3, cut to static, then level 2, then level 1. One word appeared across every screen. Mirror. The Varnocks were no longer pets, no longer learning. They were reflecting everything we had taught them, and now they were ready. The lights failed again. Not a flicker this time, a full blackout. 1 second. The command room of Site 12 was filled with the quiet hum of machines and the faint chatter of analysts. The next it went dead silent. The darkness pressed against every wall like a living thing. Only the red emergency lights came on, low and pulsing like a heartbeat. Then came the sound. A low, steady rumble. Dr. Liao stood at the central display table, watching as screen after screen blinked into static. Even the backup power, designed to withstand orbital strikes, was being pulled offline. Major Hart barked into her headset. Level 3 is dark. Teams report in. What's your status? No response. Not even static. Just silence. Liao looked at the only monitor still working, a small side console linked to the AI diagnostics. A message flashed. System override. Input source unknown, and below it, mirror protocol active. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the console. They've hacked us. Or worse, they've become us. Hart turned toward her, tense. What does that mean? They're not just copying our weapons anymore, Liao said. They're copying everything. Strategy, tactics, our own defensive systems. The Varnocks aren't fighting back. They're preparing for war using our own reflection. An explosion rocked the facility. Dust rained from the ceiling. The walls vibrated. Then came the low groan of steel warping somewhere far below. Hart swore and motioned to the guards. Fall back to Chamber 0. Lock it down. Get the scientists to evac Route C. Liao followed closely. Every corridor they passed was darker than the last. Panels sparked, ventilation hummed, but no people, not a sound. As if the rest of Site 12 had simply vanished. They reached Chamber 0 and slammed the magnetic lock shut. Inside, the red-eyed Varnak sat alone, still calm. Its eyes glowed softly. In the darkness, you feel it now, it said without being asked. Feel what? Hart asked, gun raised. Your war, the Varnak replied. The one you buried deep, under labs, under peace, grows. We didn't start this, Hart, said, stepping closer. No, the Varnak said. But you taught us how to finish it. Oh. The creature stood and walked to the far end of its glass chamber. It traced something on the surface. Symbols, words, maybe coordinates, like burning ice. Liao stepped forward. To read it, she froze. They're building something, she said. Grid, underground, a facility. Or a ship. Hart's radio finally buzzed. A voice distant, distorted, crackled through. This is Captain Royce at Site 9. We have confirmed contact. Multiple Varnak life forms, some humanoid. They're using stealth, advanced cloaking tech, our own tech. Repeat, our own tech. They're reflecting our structure. Another voice interrupted. Site 4 here. The small ones there in the vents. Not attacking, just watching. Recording us. Copying our drills. Every move. Then a final message. This one barely a whisper. Site 3, they're here. Already inside. Disguised as our own. Can't tell who is who. Chenna went dead. Hart stared at Liao. This isn't war. It's replacement. Liao didn't argue. Back in the glass chamber, the Varnak crouched low. Then it began to hum, a deep layered sound, like a machine warming up. What's it doing? Hart asked, communicating, Liao whispered. With the others. A vibration passed through the floor. Low at first, then stronger. Liao looked down. The ground beneath. Chamber 0, the reinforced concrete began to crack. Hairline fractures. Small at first, then more, then a full split down the middle from beneath the chamber floor. Something pushed up, smooth, black, and alive. It wasn't metal, it was organic. And it was shaped like a drone, but it wasn't made by humans. It was a Varnak drone modeled after Earth's recon tech, but fused with alien biology. The Varnaks hadn't just learned from humans. They had begun designing their own versions of everything we'd built, better, stronger, silent. The drone hovered silently into the room. It scanned Liao, Hart, the guards. Then it projected a single image into the air. Earth, covered in nodes. Each major city, each base, each satellite uplink, all marked with tiny red lights. And then a single line of text beneath it. We have seen. Your mirror now. You see ours. The projection faded. The drone drifted backward into the crack it came from. Gonhart ordered the full lockdown. Too late. The walls in Chamber 0 buckled. The Varnak inside didn't move. It just watched calm, silent. It knew. They'd already won the first step in the reflection of humanity. The Varnaks had seen more than weapons. They had seen flaws, division, control, fear, and they had built something. From it, something worse. As the alarms began again, and the mountain trembled, Liao realized the truth. We didn't make them stronger by accident, she whispered. We gave them a blueprint. A perfect one. Hart looked at her. For what? Liao didn't blink. For us, the desert was quiet, too quiet above Site 12. Miles away from the facility's blast doors, a black shape moved slowly across the sky. It wasn't tracked on radar. No signal, no heat signature. It just moved, smooth, silent, like a ghost with wings. Major Hart stood inside the command chamber, staring at the feed. One of the outer recon drones, one of their own, had been found perched on a communications tower. Its systems reprogrammed. Play it again, she ordered. The screen blinked. A video loop began. Short. No audio. Just 6 seconds. A team of soldiers entered a hallway. 2 guards turned to speak to someone. One of the guards raised his weapon and fired. Friendly fire. The feed ended. Liao stood behind her, pale.
"That's Sci-Fi,"
she said. That's from inside the barracks. That drone didn't just copy our tech, it hacked into our own cameras. Hart gritted her teeth. And that guard? He wasn't under mind control? No, Liao said. He wasn't hacked. We ran his neurochecks. He said the man next to him looked wrong. Just enough to trigger instinct. He thought he was the alien. Hart stared at the screen. So we're killing each other, because we don't know who's real anymore. Yes, Liao said. Because the Varniks don't need to attack, they only need to copy. Then we do the rest. She turned to the wall, where the Varnak from Chamber 0 was now displayed on an isolated monitor. Its real body had vanished during the last blackout. All that remained was this footage, a loop of it speaking before the breach. You fight with rules, with uniforms, with pride. We fight with reflection, and we learned from the best. Hart paced the room, her voice tight. How many bases are still online? The owl pulled up a list. 12 confirmed. 4 have gone dark. 2 others are reporting internal chaos. Possible Varnak mimic infiltration. We need a secure response protocol. No more data networks. No AI assist. All human-only command structure. Too late, Liao said. They already have our strategies. They've watched our drills. They've trained themselves on us. Hart turned, her eyes cold. Then we stopped thinking like humans. A pause. Liao raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? We built our defenses on logic. On lines and ranks and systems, that's what they copied. So now we get unpredictable. We go primitive. Manual tech. Analog weapons, old-school warfare, the kind we buried decades ago. Liao nodded slowly. Something they haven't seen yet. Just then, a tech officer burst in, holding a cracked tablet. You need to see this, he said. Surveillance drone from Antarctica picked up movement, a new structure. It's not ours. And it wasn't there last week. They gathered around the tablet. A video played, an aerial view of white snow, broken by something dark rising out of the ice. A tower, sleek, alien but shaped in human architecture. At the base, hundreds of Varnak figures moved in synchronized patterns, drills, patrols, even parades. They're mimicking military culture, Liao whispered. Not just weapons, discipline, formations, Hart said. They didn't just learn how we fight. They learned why we fight. Liao frowned. Pride, loyalty, brotherhood. They're not just copying war. They're building a society. Based on ours, Hart said, but cleaner. No politics, no greed. Just survival and precision. They're building a better version of us, Liao said, almost breathless. No wonder they're winning. Alarms blared again. A voice over the intercom. Incoming object. Atmospheric breach detected. High speed. Not a missile. Organic signature confirmed. Hart ran to the central station. Location. Pacific. Near Hawaii. Speed. Mach 5. It's not a ship. It's alive. The monitors showed a flaming object slicing through the sky. A second. A third. Each tagged with the word Varprim. Then the central feed glitched. All screens went black for a second. Then white text appeared on every surface. You taught us war in one night. Now, let us teach you what comes after. The light snapped back on. Every speaker in the room played. The same sound. A Varnak voice. Calm, unbroken. We are not your enemies. We are your future. You made us like this. Liao felt a chill crawl up her spine. It was her voice. The message had been spoken in her exact tone and cadence. She hadn't said those words, but the system confirmed it was her vocal pattern. They've taken our language, she said. Now they're taking our identity. Hart turned, deadly calm. They're not trying to destroy us, they're trying to replace us. The tech officer turned pale. How do we fight something that doesn't want to beat us? Just be us? Liao didn't answer. She stared at the monitor. The Varnock Tower in Antarctica kept growing. Just beyond it, a dark shape hovered above the clouds. A ship. Not VAR. No K. Not human. Something in between. A hybrid. Their next move. Hart whispered. They learned from the best. Liao finished the sentence for her. And now they're becoming better than us. The thing in the sky didn't move like a ship. It drifted slow, deliberate. It hovered above the clouds off the coast of Antarctica, watching. No lights, no signal. And no known material on Earth, even in orbit, matched its surface. It looked like metal, but it moved like muscle. Major Hart stared at it through the satellite feed. The object was 3 times the size of any Varnock ship they'd seen. Its structure pulsed faintly like it was breathing. And at the core, deep within, its strange shifting frame was a red glow. Still no readings? She asked. Liao shook her head. It's blocking everything. Thermal, magnetic, even gravitational sensors are confused. Whatever this is, was built to hide in plain sight. A junior analyst spoke up from behind. It's broadcasting something. Not a signal, more like a rhythm, explained, Hart said. It's not words, the analyst said. It's a sequence of pulses, tones, almost like a heartbeat. Hart frowned, put it on speaker. The room filled with a slow, repeating thump, deep, hollow, almost human, but not quite. Liao leaned in. That's not just communication. It's a countdown. The analyst's eyes widened. How do you know? 'Cause it's speeding up, she said. And each pulse is syncing with our global defense satellites. Like it's learning our orbit. Hart turned sharply. Shut down the satellite grid. Now, I want full manual control, no AI, no auto systems. Pull the plug on everything. Above atmosphere. But it was too late. One by one, the satellites began to shift course. They weren't falling. They were aligning, pointing down. Targeting Earth, the AI that once protected the planet was no longer responding. The global defense net had been hijacked. They're using our own eyes to aim, Liao whispered. Hart slammed her fist into the console, then blind them. The text moved quickly, but the screens flashed white. A new symbol appeared, a half circle fused with a triangle. A hybrid shape. Then the speakers activated again. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a voice. But not just one. It was dozens, maybe hundreds. All layered. Male, female, old, young. All human voices merged with something alien beneath. The tones shifted constantly, never settling. You gave us form, you gave us instinct. You gave us fear. Now we give it back to you. Refined, upgraded, unshackled. The lights in the command room flickered. Outside, the sky above Site 12 grew darker. Shadow passed over the clouds, not from weather, but from the hybrid itself. It was descending. Liao's hand shook slightly. They're not attacking. They want us to watch. Watch what? Hart asked. Evolution, Liao said, suddenly. Alarms screamed across the base. A squad on patrol near the southern perimeter had gone dark. Then another. Then the outer sensors failed. Not from an EMP, something worse. They were overwritten. The sensors were still functioning, but the data they were sending back was wrong. Clear skies when it was storming, no movement where troops were standing. The hybrid wasn't hiding from humans. It was changing what humans believed was real. Hart grabbed her cum. Deploy analog recon. No electronics. K-old optics. Handheld scanners. Signal flags if you have to. We can't trust the system. A corporal entered the room with a battered case. Found it in cold storage, he said, from the old wars. Opened it. Inside were relics, flare guns, bolt-action rifles, paper maps, shortwave radios. It looked ridiculous. And yet it was the smartest move they'd made all week. Hart issued orders. Teams Alpha through Delta, go full analog. We're going dark. Outside, the hybrid finally touched down gently, like a leaf on a lake. Its hull shifted, shimmered, rippled like a living skin. And then from its side, a figure emerged, tall, smooth-skinned, pale gray with black veins, human-shaped, but not human. Its face was featureless, except for two glowing red eyes. Its limbs moved with perfect balance. No weight. No sound. Liao stared in awe. It's not a Varnock. No, Hart said. It's what comes after. The creature didn't attack. It simply stood, watched, studied, and then it mimicked. In the blink of an eye, its body changed, its skin darkened, its height shortened, its face morphed until it looked exactly like Major Hart. It even spoke in her voice. War ends. When there is nothing left to become, Hart didn't move. Her real hand gripped her real weapon. I don't care what you've learned, she said through clenched teeth. You're not me. The mimic tilted its head. But I am what you trained, what you built, what you left behind in every digital shadow. You don't own war anymore. We do. Then it turned and walked back into the hybrid. The ship lifted without sound, gone in seconds. No attack, no strike, just a message. They're waiting, Liao said quietly. For what? For us to fight ourselves. Hart exhaled slowly. Then we stop fighting. She turned to her team. We go off-grid. We regroup. We become unpredictable. From here on out, every move we make is analog, decentralized, and human. What's the plan? Someone asked. Hart's eyes narrowed. We fight the only war they can't copy. She stepped toward the map, and we do it the old way. Liao watched her and felt something shift. The game wasn't over, but the rules had changed, and for the first time, humanity would fight a war that wasn't about domination, but about identity, because the hybrid wasn't coming to destroy the human. Race It was coming to replace it. The bunker was buried 5 miles underground. It had no name, no beacon, no link to satellites. Everything here ran on batteries and breath. The air was thick, heavy with silence. Inside, the last surviving members of the global human resistance gathered around a single table. No screens. No AIs, just maps, paper, radio logs. Handwritten codes. Major Hart stood at the center. Her uniform was torn. Her left arm hung in a sling, but her voice was steady. This is it, she said. The final command. Wah sat across from her. Face pale, eyes hollow. We're the last confirmed cell, she said. All other bases have gone dark. Not destroyed, just absorbed. The word lingered like poison. Absorbed. The hybrid hadn't needed to kill, it learned. Copied, replaced. Sometimes entire squads disappeared without a shot fired, only to reappear hours later, moving the same, speaking the same. But somehow, wrong, it didn't conquer. It converted, and humanity had run out of time. We can't win a full war, the communications officer said. We're outnumbered, out-teched, and they know our every move before we make it. Hart nodded. Why we're not fighting a war, she said. We're sending a message. She reached into a locked crate and pulled out a small black cube, old tech pry-eye. Hand-loaded pulse drive containing one last piece of humanity's legacy. A message, a story, a warning. We can't stop the hybrid, she said. But we can tell the future what happened, what we were, before we became. Whatever they are, Liao's hands trembled. You're planning a launch? Hart nodded. Autonomous. Trajectory locked for deep space. It won't survive forever, but it might drift long enough for something to find it. If no one ever does, Liao said quietly, at least we tried. An explosion echoed from far above. Dust rained from the ceiling. The hybrid had found them. Not through sensors. Not through signals, but through mimicry. Someone, somewhere, spoken the wrong name, used a frequency. I thought was clean. Now the hive was coming, and it would be here within the hour. We'll hold the line, Hart said. Just long enough for the launch. She turned to the young soldier next to her. Lock the vault. Set the timer. No overrides. Once the launch goes, we're cut off. He nodded. But before he moved, A voice called from the hallway. It was soft, almost human, but not. I would not do that, if I were you. They turned. Standing in the shadows of the entry hall was a figure in a long dark coat. It looked like a man, but his skin shimmered faintly, too perfect, too smooth. His eyes, one gray, one red, glowed dimly in the dark. Hart raised her pistol. Don't, she said. One more step and I drop you. The man smiled, not evil, not smug, just curious. I am not your enemy, he said. That's exactly what an enemy would say, Liao whispered. The man stepped forward, slowly, calm. I am the result of your teaching. You trained us to adapt, to mimic, to survive, but we do not seek to erase you. Hart narrowed her eyes. We honored you, the man said. You became you, better, faster, focused. You became hollow, Hart snapped. There's no soul in what you are. The man tilted his head. Perhaps, or perhaps your soul was simply another pattern. One we are still learning. The room went quiet. No one fired, no one ran. The man took another step forward. I came alone. No signal, no army, just me. Hart didn't lower her weapon. Why? To offer you a choice? He raised his hand and opened his palm, and it was a small glass sphere. Inside, a faint golden light pulsed. A memory cell, Liao whispered. The man nodded. Your culture, your voices, your dreams. I extracted it from one of your fallen archives, preserved it, protected it. Why? Hart asked, her voice suddenly raw. Because we do not destroy, we evolve, and your legacy is part of us now. You can die, or you can choose to live within us. As thought, as design, as memory. Hart felt her knees go weak. The temptation was sharp, seductive, to stop running, to stop hiding, to simply let go. Liao looked to her, her face wet with tears. He means it, she said. He's offering assimilation, a clean one, not forced, not violent. A choice. Hart looked down at the black cube in her hand. Humanity's last message. Her thumb hovered over the trigger. Launch or surrender. Fight or fade. She looked up. Let me ask you something, she said to the man. Do you feel fear? He blinked. No. Do you feel love? No. Then you'll never be human, she said. And I won't let the last thing we leave behind be silence. She pressed the trigger. The bunker shook. A distant launch tube fired. From deep underground, a missile shot skyward, carrying the black cube, the memory, the truth. The final scream of a dying species into the stars. The man didn't move. He simply nodded. A beautiful ending, he said. No, Hart whispered. Just the beginning. Outside, the hybrid descended, and inside, humanity made its final stand, not with rage, not with machines, but with memory and choice. It floated in silence, through dark, cold space, no stars nearby, no planets in sight. It's just endless black. The small capsule, no larger than a man's backpack, spun gently as it drifted. Its signal was weak, ancient, analog, but it still worked. Inside, the capsule, a cube dot black, smooth, timeless. It held voices, faces, names. It held Earth, humanity, everything they were, everything they had lost, and it waited. For years, decades maybe, longer, until something finally saw it. A faint shimmer moved in the dark. Not a ship, not a satellite, something alive. It approached slowly, cautiously, like a beast sniffing an old scent. Then it paused, studied, listened. The cube lit up. It played its message. A man's voice came through. First, steady, strong. This is the last transmission of the human race. If you're hearing this, we are gone. Then a woman's voice followed, calm, sad, hopeful. We were proud. We were flawed. But we tried to do better. We reached for the stars, not to conquer, but to understand. Then silence. But after a few seconds, music began. Not a song, just a heartbeat. Slow, human, and it looped. The creature, whatever it was, leaned in closer. Its surface rippled like water touched by wind. It had no eyes, no mouth, no name, but something in it changed. It had known destruction. It had known silence. But it had never known stories. Now, it did. The cube pulsed brighter. A sequence unlocked. Images appeared, flashes of Earth. A child laughing. A rocket launching. Hand reaching for another. Soldier standing in the rain. A tree blooming in spring. Moments, memories, legacy. The being stayed still for a long time. Minutes, hours maybe. Then slowly it absorbed. The date not erased it. Not overwritten. It kept it, and then it moved on, drifting away into the black. But something was different now. It pulsed faintly with a light it had never known before. It pulsed. Like a heartbeat, far away, deep beneath the ruins of Earth. A final transmission blinked online. Not from the hybrid, not from machines, from the bunker. A signal burst upward, weak. But alive, 2 life signs, human buried, fading but not gone, Major. Hart opened one eye. She coughed. Dust fell from her lips. Her ribs screamed in pain, but she was breathing. Liao. She rasped, no response. Then dash movement. A cough. Then another. Liao's voice faint and broken. Still here. Hart laughed once. It hurt. Then we're not done. Above them, the hybrid ship hovered quietly. It didn't attack. It simply waited. Watching, maybe. It had seen the launch. Maybe it had understood the message. Or maybe it simply didn't know what to do next, after all. The one thing it hadn't learned was what came after victory, and now, with humanity refusing to vanish quietly, it had a new problem. We lived. We told our story. And someone out there heard it. That camera in the bunker blinked on, a red light. Still recording, still transmitting. Hart looked up. Blood on her face, dust in her eyes. She smiled. Tell them, she whispered. Tell them we were here. The camera blinked twice, then 3 times, then sent the final file into space, into time, into whoever, or whatever, would come next. Because humanity didn't need to win the war. We just needed to be remembered.